Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tasha. This is Tasha Pivots, where I talk about all things homeschool and mamahood and how I'm pivoting through this journey. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to talk about all the books that are going to be used for and also recommended for my new unit study called Fervor, which is the African American United States 12-lesson unit study. Hey you, if you're new here, I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to send you a warm hug through the screen. And if you are already a subscriber, hi, welcome back. I'm so glad to see you. I am just so honored and privileged to do this. And I am so thankful for those who have already purchased the new unit study, my first unit study created called Fervor over on my site. If you haven't already, please finish watching this video and then run over there at tashapivots.com, hit the Fervor tab and grab you a copy. So yes, this is the second video, the part 2 to my takeover this week, all things Fervor. And I wanted to sit down with you and kind of just talk about all the books and what is, required, what's not, and try to answer as many questions as I can when it comes to the books. So if you already have your curriculum and you've printed it out or you've got it digitally on your screen, just know that I am going to be referencing, this is a hard copy I have in front of me. I'm going to be referencing page 11 and 12. It's an entire list that I've created that says your supplemental reading list. I also have here my Amazon affiliate storefront. So it means that I get a percentage for any books that are purchased through Amazon on my shop. So I have a shop where I took all the books that I've referenced for this curriculum, as well as some other books that I found that I didn't add just to save time and space, but wanted to just encourage you, if it sounds like something interesting you'd like to pick up. I put them all in one place for you. And so you will be able to find that. I will link the link to the Amazon shop in my bio, or not bio, but my description below. So yes, we're going to be going over this, but first let me answer some of these questions that I feel like often come up, and I may have more that come along the way. So first, the supplemental reading is a recommendation. It is not required. So I don't want anyone to feel like they've got to spend $1 million trying to purchase books. But if you want to buy these books gradually, I would highly recommend them in your library. I have 3 books that I am asking that you maybe consider to add to your library, as you will reference them throughout the unit study. And of course, the main one that matters primarily the most, because that's the only way we can complete it, is The Heart and Soul, the story of America and African Americans by Kadir Nelson. The entire Fervor unit study is based on this book, okay? And so this book I want to say at Barnes & Noble's is $10, and on Amazon it's like, I think $7. So very affordable. I didn't even take that into account until after the fact. Once I noticed that, I was like, well, that's awesome. So definitely grab this book. And even if you're not doing my unit study, I, again, will say it again, like I said in my video yesterday, get the book. It is so awesome to have in your library. So there's that one. Then there's the other 2 that I was talking about. So you have the American Visual History Encyclopedia by DK. If you don't have that one, pick that one up. That is such a great one. I actually let a friend borrow mine, so I don't have it in front of me, but I will go ahead and link a little picture here so you can see the cover. And so you can definitely use that. That's going to be a great reference. Also, the other one that I have here, let me grab it really quickly. I actually took the cover off, y'all, because I don't like those little paper covers. I like just the feel of a book. But this is Many Thousands Gone by Virginia Hamilton. And this book is going to be great for you, especially in those first couple of chapters where we're talking about slavery and civil rights, or the Civil War. And it's just got some great depictions, some graphite black and white depictions in there, but some great stories as well. And so this is going to be one of the primary books that we'll reference in our lessons. And so again, yes, it's recommended. These are books that I just wanted to give you extra material that would go along with the unit study and the topics in which the subjects matters that we're going over. So you could buy these gradually, you could buy them all at one time. You could go to your library and maybe set up an account with them where you can give them your list and they can already set aside the books that you need, which would be so helpful to most libraries right now. I know in my county, they were cut short staffed due to COVID. So definitely check out your library if you can first, and then purchase whatever it else that you may want to do. So yes, I'm going to kind of show you guys the books I have in front of me, and I have about 10 other books that are all on the Amazon account that I don't have. I don't think I have enough time to share with you all in once. But some of these you've probably already seen if you've been following and subscribed to the channel for some time, and some of these may be completely new to you. Okay, so I want to say first, if you are not living under a rock, you already know all things Who Was. I love this. It is super great for our young readers, especially 2nd through 5th grade, and even older kids. But I feel like through this unit study, these are the 3 that are going to be put in for supplemental reading. And you could definitely even extend this to make it a book report, or using it in their interactive journal to add materials in. So I've got Who Was George Washington, Who Was Harriet Tubman, Who Was Abraham Lincoln. So those all 3, you can definitely pick those up if you don't already have them. They are going to be referenced in the supplemental reading, as well as just giving you some extra aid with some of your projects. And then I wanted to, especially in chapter 1, due to this being an African American history curriculum unit study, I still wanted to pay homage to Africa, because we would never have been here. Our original space and land and home is Africa. And so I picked up a couple of books that, or picked out a couple of books that I thought would be great to just kind of give us a little bit of a visual, but also just the warmth in their folk tales that they have. And so I have the first one, which is Africa Dream. And so this is like the rich life and culture of Africa, and it's in the continent of Africa. And so I thought this is a great picture book for our 2nd and 3rd graders to enjoy. It's definitely different where there's no color, it's all black and white. But it's just beautiful. It's an easy read aloud that your children can go ahead and read to you and even talk about. Then I mentioned this one in a video in the past, and this is Mafario's Beautiful Daughters. And I love this. This came out actually when I was a child. This is an African tale. And the pictures in here are also just drop dead gorgeous. Let me see if I can open up so I can show you. Like, look at that. Your older kids could even do their own depictions of some of the pictures in their interactive journal, where they can do maybe the way their hair is done and the hairdressing and their garments, and even the plants and things that you see here. It's just so beautiful. So that's Mafario's Daughters. And then we have A Fight for Freedom, which I have mentioned also. I mentioned, I think, when I first talked about an update on the African American unit study that I was doing, and that is Black Heroes of the American Revolution. So the American Revolution is really chapters 1 and 2. It's in the main book in the unit study that we're covering. And I was so grateful that I found this book. It's definitely for your older readers. So this is going to be more of our 4th and 5th graders that are going to really enjoy this. I think 2nd and 3rd, you may want to read this to them, and maybe read it before you read it to them, so you can pick out the pieces in which you feel may be more beneficial for them. This one is it chronologically lists in this beautiful timeline. This is just the front cover, y'all. I haven't even got in the book. This is the inside of the cover. And it's a timeline of all the different battles that happened during the Revolutionary War. And if you have already purchased your unit study, then you know that there's a big bonus project at the end where your child can build out their own scroll and talk about all the different timeline and time periods. And so this is a great reference for that, but it also has I have a couple of reference pages on the supplemental, in the supplemental bar on the unit study where I talk about reading certain parts and then being able to pick it. There is some beautiful pictures of the battles and even how it affected the women during that time. And so if you have a child that really is just wanting to really learn about the war, there's these. But then that's what I noticed is, so you have this, but there was little to no depictions of African Americans. And honestly, it actually didn't have any. So there's this. And so that's why I chose this. This actually has a lot more details and stories, but it also has some beautiful portraits and depictions of Black soldiers. And even though they were not free, they still served and they still cared and took care of the white soldiers. And so this is actually a really good book to pick up for that. And then going back, so we were talking about George Washington. I talked about picking up this book for our October read alouds with my daughter. And so definitely this is for age 9 through 13 if you were to give your children to read it themselves. So probably that 4th and 5th grader could read this and you could challenge them to reading it, or you could be reading it out loud and you guys can create this as your read aloud time. And that's Never Caught, the story of Ona Judge. She was a slave to Martha and George Washington. And we get to learn about her story and how she runs away. So that is referenced in there. Phoebe the Spy, she was the first Black woman spy that we know of during the American Revolution. So again, these are all really the books I've covered is just chapter 1. And so I have the Clara and the Freedom Quilt, which is kind of like during like chapter 3 when we start to get into the abolitionist and they're just trying to be free, or even actually when they're farther along, when they've now received that they've been after Abraham Lincoln, after Civil War, and they are now free. This is a great one. See Clara and the Freedom Quilt. It's a beautiful story. And I love to have some visual aid continuously, if you can tell, as well as, of course, anything that's watercolor or oil paintings are just beautiful. But this seamstress on a home plantation, and she's dreaming of freedom. And so this is a great book to reference. I also grabbed some new ones on here. I have obviously so much more, but I wanted to show you guys these that I just added, and I'm going to have them on the site as extra reading for your child that wasn't listed in the supplemental reading list, but some books that I think for even definitely our 4th and 5th graders, that if you can find these, that's great. I found them at my local thrift bookstore that I love to go to, which is Half Price Books, which is a gently reused store where people can return books or just sell their books that they're not using anymore. And I found some great references, and I obviously found these after I've already finished the curriculum, but I'm going to have that on there. This is Black Eagles. It's African Americans in Aviation, and we do cover that. There's a chapter on all the Black innovators and when innovation started to happen with all of them. So I wanted, like, Betsy Coleman and the Tuskegee Airmen, we do a whole section on them. And so there's all these stories in here. Now, this is not going to have as many pictures. It's going to have a few, which gives you, like, one thing I do like is it's going to show the real people and not just like illustrated ones, but they could physically see them. And so I found this one. This was, like, y'all see that price, $2.25. It is possible. Found this one, the Civil Rights Movement. It's an interactive history adventure. I wish I would have found this prior to me building out the curriculum, because I totally would have included it, but you can still pick this up. This is in the late 1950s when African Americans don't enjoy the same rights promised to Americans. And so we do have that section towards the end of our lesson in unit study. We really dive into the civil rights movement. We dive into Martin Luther King and what he stood for and what he was trying to do. And we beg some really interesting questions with our kids. So this is a great one. And then this one, of course, and these are all almost completely out of order based on this unit study, but I have Dear Mr. President, Abraham Lincoln Letters from a Slave Girl. And I found this one again, I think it was like $4, and it's the letters between a president and a child of his time. This is going to be so good for your upper level when they're going through the slave movement, the slave period of time, and they're going through the Lincoln War and the Lincoln timeline. And so I will probably do maybe some extra little activities that I'll add on to my site, that if your child wants to just take that part further, they can check that out, and I'll see if I can get that coming out in the next couple of weeks. So there's that one. And then, of course, I've talked about this one is for our poetry. She's also included, this is the Brown Honey and Broomwheat Tea, poems by Joyce Carol Thomas. And it's just got some beautiful, beautiful stories and poetry in here. So if you're like me and we actually enjoy reading poetry, you'll enjoy these. I think there's a different poem on each page. Beautiful depictions. And so, yes, I have done all this talking, showed you all these books. So like I said, I have more over here. Actually, I didn't even get to, guys. I have so many books like Rosa, Moses, Working Cotton, which is a primary one for when you're doing the slave, chapter 2 for slavery family. And it helps me continue to be a homeschooling mama to my girls. So I appreciate it. But you can check that out. It's going to be listed in the description below. And it literally has all the books. All the books. I only showed you a sliver because we literally would be here for like a 30 to 45 minutes. There is still like probably a good, I'd say 10 books that are also included in this unit study. And so I hope that you are going to enjoy it and enjoy this time reading with your children, and that you know and get to see some of the visuals inside and maybe pick and choose which books that you want to use for this curriculum. Until next time, please hit this the like button if you enjoyed this video, and hit the red subscribe button if you'd like to continue this journey with me. And until next time, y'all have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.